If you're trying to become an instructional designer, you might be wondering whether it's actually a fulfilling career or if you're just trading one stressful job for another. And I totally get it. A lot of teachers and career changers worry about leaving behind the impact they're making. And while you might not get the same feeling you do when you're working in a classroom directly with students and getting to see them have that aha moment, instructional design can still be incredibly rewarding. So let's take a look at why. So we're going to take a look at the impact you can have as an instructional designer, the reach that you can expect, the creativity that you can use, the flexibility of the role, and the growth potential. And after that, we're going to take a look at some challenges that you'll likely face in the field, and I'll dive a bit into my personal experience as an instructional designer as well. So let's dive right in. So what kind of impact can you expect as an instructional designer? As you likely know by now, your goal here is to design learning experiences that help people do their jobs more easily, more efficiently, more confidently, etc. So you're designing learning experiences for a real purpose here. You're trying to help people do their jobs better so that by extension, it can help the organization that employs those people. So you do have the potential to make people's lives a whole lot easier. Again, think about getting hired at a new job, being kind of overwhelmed with all of that information coming at you. A good instructional designer can make that onboarding experience very smooth, can help people learn new skills very easily and quickly and efficiently. And employees definitely appreciate when their orgs have really solid instructional designers. So another cool aspect of this is that you're not helping people learn just for the sake of learning. You're helping people accomplish something practical when instructional design is done right, at least. So again, you're not helping people pass a test. You're helping people accomplish a real goal. You're helping impact their behavior so that they can do something new that they couldn't do before. So it's a very practical and focused approach to learning design. And another, fun way to look at it is that you're empowering people to advance in their careers more easily. So with these skills that you're giving people, right, as these employees are becoming more skilled and more confident on the job, they are able to more easily work their way up the ladder, right, transition into other roles, stay in demand, stay employable. So as an instructional designer, you get to play a direct impact in that. And the reach that you get. So you can reach far more people than you can with traditional learning experiences. And I'll dive into my experience with this a bit later. But think about how scalable e-learning is, right? You design it once, you put in the work up front, and then it can have an impact for years or decades to come. It can reach 1 million people just as well as it can reach 10 people once you've put in that work up front to build it. So again, not the same experience as like working face to face with someone and getting that type of satisfaction, but it definitely can reach a ton of people. So again, you can design one experience and it can reach hundreds of thousands or even millions of people. And I will say with this part of it, the satisfaction can be more cerebral, right? Not as visceral. You don't feel it as much. But when you think about it, it's like, wow, this thing that I built, last month is now rolling out to 200,000 people. So that can be kind of weird to think about, but you can have a much larger reach than you can in front of a classroom, for example. Creativity. So you do get to design learning experiences from start to finish in a lot of cases, right? It depends on the team you're on. But in a lot of these roles, you do have creative freedom over, okay, we need a learning experience on this topic or this project. How are you going to bring it to life? How are you going to keep people engaged? So you are the learning design master, right? How are you going to help your audience learn something new? Right? You often have some level of creative control over this. You might not always, right? Sometimes you might be able to run with it however you want, and sometimes you might play a very specific role. It does depend on your team. But in a lot of cases, you have some level of creative control. And as your skill set grows, you're not just helping people learn more effectively, you're also ensuring that they have a good experience while they're learning. So really good instructional designers can do that like edutainment piece, like we can educate people while entertaining them. So if you are passionate about that and you want to use your creativity to create some engaging learning experiences that people will really appreciate, you'll definitely be able to make a solid impact and find some fulfillment in this field. Okay, moving on to flexibility. So a lot of people love instructional design just for this reason alone, right? There are a lot of remote opportunities in the field, so it's not unrealistic at all to want to work from your house and be able to, experience all the benefits that come with that. In our most recent survey of I think 600 and something instructional designers, we found that 91% of them were either working fully remote or working hybrid. So pretty rare, very rare, I'd say, to have to go into the office 5 days a week as an instructional designer. And this is what got me into the field initially, that work-life balance piece. It was like topping the lists back in like 2017 when I was getting into the field. So yeah, pretty good work-life balance, most IDs, right? Clock in at 9, clock out at 5, and no work stress outside of work for the most part, right? There are some exceptions to that if you have a really demanding role, but in general, it's a pretty low stress career. And the other big flexible piece of this is that there are a lot of remote opportunities on the side. So freelance opportunities, contract opportunities. So if you want to supplement your income, or maybe you want a really non-traditional schedule and you want to just pick up contracts here and there, that's definitely an option in the field. That's what drew me into it as well. So this flexibility piece can be very satisfying and rewarding once you're in the field. And then growth potential. So a lot of people coming into the field appreciate this aspect of it, especially people coming from education. So there are a lot of different ways that you can grow in this field. So you can advance to a senior ID role. Some people transition right into them, but right, there are roles with more responsibility and impact that you can have. Some people wind up trying to go into instructional design or learning manager roles so that you're managing a team. Or you can specialize in one aspect of the field, and this is the route that I see a lot of people take. So if you really like e-learning development, for example, you can do some really advanced e-learning development stuff. If you like creating animated videos, you can dive into that. If you're really good at writing storyboards, you could do that and land some really nice freelance projects doing that as well. Or land a role, for example, on the development side it landed a role where they need someone who's really good at the development. And the more specialized you are, the more rewarding, the more earning potential that you're going to have as well. As long as you can do all the basics at least. And then, yeah, you can swap to new roles with more responsibility or impact. So yeah, if the impact that you'll have on different teams can vary quite a bit. So as you get more experience in the field, you'll definitely learn how to identify the roles that are the best fit for you. And then what I've been super impressed by over the past 5 years or so as I've been working with people getting into this field, just because you start in instructional design doesn't mean you're going to end in instructional design, right? There are so many ways you can take it because this is such an interdisciplinary field. So user experience research, software engineering, product management, these are just a few examples of where I've seen people go. An example you all might be familiar with is Joe Steuben. I interviewed him back in like 2020 before I even launched any programs. I was working with him, helping him get into the field, and he landed an instructional design role at Amazon. And yeah, he broke into the corporate field. He was coming from, he was a university professor. He landed an ID role at Amazon, and then he became a UX researcher with a big pay bump. And now he's like a senior product manager with like a huge pay bump and a ton of responsibility. And yeah, just got his foot in the door with ID and then just moved up and up and up. So I know some people, you might just want to like break into tech or break into the corporate world. And then there's so many different avenues for growth beyond that, both with, the skills that you develop and your earning potential as well. So there are some challenges, right? I've hinted at a few, but not all instructional design roles are created equal. So I was a freelancer, and I'll get into my experience in a bit, but some projects I worked on, super rewarding, right? Deep analysis was conducted. We identified, hey, if we can help people do these behaviors better, they're going to have like literally less lead in their blood, and like they can avoid toxic chemicals better, and we're going to have a direct impact on people's health. Other projects felt kind of fluffy, and it's more like cultural focused, and it felt more like it was a marketing campaign than we're really driving behavior change. So full-time roles can be like this as well, right? I've talked to some people and it's like, this is the most rewarding work I've been doing in my life. And people are they're working for like nonprofits or for like mission-driven healthcare organizations and things like that. And like they have a very clear connection to the impact they're having. And then I've talked to people too where they have to build 50 courses a year and churn them out constantly, and they're not super emotionally connected to the impact they're having. But on the other hand, it can pay really well. So the roles have some trade-offs. Impact can definitely vary from role to role. And yeah, while those course farm roles pay well, they may not be the most fulfilling thing. So choose your role carefully, I'd say. There can definitely be tight deadlines from time to time. I'd say rarely is it a constant, but there can be sprints. It depends on the team you're on. But like anything, if you need to finish a course by a certain date and things are slowing it down, it's going to be a little bit stressful. It could also be frustrating working with different stakeholders. So for example, working with subject matter experts, that's usually where the biggest frustration comes in. They might not have a lot of time. You might need them to complete a review by a specific deadline, but then they kind of ghost you and you need to like figure out how to get them back in touch with you. So a lot of it can come to, just how you manage those relationships, how you build those relationships, keep it fun for you and the SME, but that can definitely be a challenging aspect if the SME is just like spread too thin, and you don't have access to the subject matter expert that you need. Also, it can be pretty frustrating when you want to make an impact and you know how to make that impact and you want to do some level of analysis and identify a business goal and stuff like that, but your supervisor or your client is not interested in that. That can be pretty frustrating too, and it feels like you're getting barred from the impact you want to make. And with that, it's just patience and or finding the right role. As you get better at identifying the right roles, as you get better at working with these stakeholders, as you design and work more quickly, these are all skills you're going to build over time. It's all going to make you a more effective instructional designer. And as you build that skill set, you are definitely going to be invaluable at your org if you're in a position where you can actually help people learn and like multiply your impact, right? If you're a good instructional designer, if you can reach 5, 10, 50,000 people across an organization, you're multiplying the productivity of all of those different people. So your impact can be very, very pronounced and impactful, I'd say. So my experience in the field, so y'all might be familiar with this. I was trying to become an English teacher, a high school English teacher, but before finishing my degree, I got my first ID job. It paid very poorly. It was not a job you want, but it did help me get my foot in the door and led me to researching the field a bit more. So right after my undergrad, I got into my master's program and I started landing freelance clients by building my portfolio. With the stuff I was finding I was having trouble with, like some technical stuff that instructional designers have to do, I started creating a portfolio piece, or I started creating tutorials and eventually YouTube videos that led to a lot of people asking me for portfolio help. So I created a boot camp. And then most recently, we turned that boot camp into a licensed career school, which is called Peck Academy. So that's kind of been my journey. So I started as a freelancer, and then after a few years of that, I just went full time into this bootcamp and academy piece, and we've worked with over 2,500 students. So it's been interesting. I've been able to reach way more people because of how scalable eLearning is. So for example, when I was a freelancer, one project I created out of a multi-million-dollar budget, it rolled out to 350,000 people. One project, right? As a teacher, I never would have been able to have that kind of reach. And I just played one role in that bigger project, but it was pretty cool being part of something that was going to go out to just so many people. And it was interesting being part of a team where you could see what kind of expectations were set for a project like that. And then again, just this work I've been able to do with my content creation, with my academy, being able to help people become instructional designers, that's been very satisfying for me. Like instead of just teaching someone about, just some facts for the sake of knowing facts, I'm able to have a direct impact on people's lives and in their careers. And while this isn't the most traditional instructional design role, there are instructional designers who are doing similarly impactful work. So it's definitely possible. And what I love about this field is that the learning is so practical and skill-based, right? We're not teaching people to pass a test. We're trying to evoke real change, right? We're helping people land life-changing roles. We're helping people do their jobs a lot easier so that they can see themselves at a company for longer and, feel more stable and secure with that. So you're helping people change their behavior to make a real impact. And if you're doing that well, your value and your impact is kind of undeniable. And it's a very unique skill set, which I like too. So a good combo of technical skills, creative writing skills, teaching skills. These are all things that I loved. And all throughout college, I'm like, I have to pick, right? Like I was, at one point I even was interested in the IT stuff because I'm like, I love technology. I'm so passionate about it. I wanted to be a writer, right? That was such a big thing for me. Then I was like, well, I gotta be practical. I could teach English. I need to earn some kind of income. But it still never sat great with me that I wouldn't have the same kind of flexibility. My earning potential would be capped, and this field kind of solved all those problems and let me use all of those different skills. And it's very dynamic and it's always changing. And I've been able to combine these skills to help people do something different. So not write a book and maybe people will be moved and appreciate the writing and entertained, but help people make an actual real change in their lives that makes a difference in their lives. So it's been great. Honestly, finding this career has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. That's why now my whole mission and goal in my career is to help other people get into this career. I'm like, it changed my life. Like, it changed your life too. So I'm a little biased. I love this field. I've seen what this field can do for people. But yeah, it's not right for everyone. So yes, instructional design can absolutely be fulfilling. It's been incredibly fulfilling for me, even though I have had some frustrating client projects, obviously. It's not going to be fulfilling 100% of the time. And yeah, if you value creativity, problem solving, making an impact by helping people learn, this is a very good field for you. I have a feeling you'll be quite happy once you find the right role. And if you are working on becoming an instructional designer, I did recently release an updated guide on how to become an instructional designer, and I shared a roadmap that, has checkboxes you can check off as you go. So I'll link to that full guide beneath this video. I appreciate you making it to the end, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.